Are we on? Good. Welcome to the Better Than Not podcast. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. But when we at least do something, we know it's almost always better than not. Hi there, and welcome to Better Than Not, the podcast that aims to capture shifting perspectives and thought-provoking ideas in conversation while asking the question, is anything what it seems? Based on my series of Changing Frame of Reference, which you can read on the Substack app, I hope you will, as it might give you some insight into what the podcast is all about. I also hope you'll subscribe to my YouTube channel, Better Than Not, so I can continue to bring you great guests like we have today. I'm your host, Del Gardum, and it's a real pleasure to welcome back Kirk Sutherland. Kirk, how are you doing?
Good, Doug. How are you?
I'm doing great. Like I said, I've been excited about this long before I even invited you back this time. But Kirk, just so we get the introductions all together, is an artist that lives in Canada. His artwork is recognized internationally, as I just heard from him talking about his students telling him, said, we didn't know that people know you from all over the world. But with that, Kirk is also a student of art, which is the real fascinating part, because he knows a lot and studies and lectures on the history of art, which the last time we talked, I learned a whole bunch of stuff. The other part that was interesting, if you've listened to previous episodes, Kirk and I grew up literally almost across the park from one another in Markham. I had no idea that Kirk was an artist. And so with this world of social media, I saw him promoting art one day, and I'm thinking, this is very cool. And so that's kind of how we got kind of reconnected. And I'm so pleased you got time to fit in today. So just so you know the setting here, I don't usually talk about this, but there's been some real tech challenges for this to go on today. So I was going to say, it'll be fun to see how and where we go to. As you can see behind Kirk today, it is lit up with color. And it's a great sign because Kirk uses colors that there are a plethora of adjectives you could use to describe it, from brilliant colors that just almost jump out and reach you and touch your emotions, so to speak. So with that, no further ado, Kirk, away we go. You're just coming.
We're on a voyage, Doug. We're on a voyage.
Yeah, there's no doubt there'll be a voyage here. You're just coming from lecturing today, are you not?
Yep. Today, let's see, what did we do today? Lately, you know what? I've been trying to take a postmodernist view on observation. And with a group of students, I'm having them try to find identifiable letters from the alphabet that actually exist within natural structures. So, for instance, someone was walking down the road and saw that there's a Christmas candy cane. That's the letter R. So I'm having them actually work with this to create poetry. And they're looking at William Blake. They're looking at people like that. But yeah, so I've always, with observation, I've always tried to instill upon them that the world is changing every single megasecond, and nothing is ever the same, because we have a consistently moving light source. And with that, you have to paint and draw what you actually see, not what you think you see. So if you go outside and you say to someone, what color is that car? And they'll say it's a red car, but it's not, because the sheen of light from the noon sun makes it anything but red. It could be variants of hot yellow and everything else. It's like looking at a wall And you'd say, what color's the wall? And it's white, but the lights are off. No, look at the wall. What color is that wall? You think it's white because it said that titanium white on the paint that was being used by the person who painted the wall, on the quart of paint or whatnot.
Huh.
But in reality, the lights are off. What color is it really? There's shades of blue. There's anything but white because of the darkness. So I'm reinstilling this with them, kind of gathering evidence to try to extract letters out of things. It could be wrought iron in front of somebody's house. It could be, one student had melting ice in the letter of I believe a G. And it was
That's
like,
cool.
yeah. And I helped the student. Actually, I was working with the student to try to process it, to even bring it out more. So let's play with this because I have a processor that she doesn't have. So, that way it came out. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
basically that's the premise. We've been looking at Stuart Davis. We've been looking at Orphism. We've been looking at, any number of things and combining all that in.
Oh, wow.
But it's going to get stranger and stranger as we meander towards people like Marcel Duchamp, and yeah. So yeah, I literally I teach a lot of things that I, in my own aesthetic, don't use,
Oh, that's cool.
because I don't want little minions running around the world. Kirk Sutherland minions. That's a scary thought. So
You know what? Your world kind of epitomizes the theme of this podcast of nothing is what it seems. Because even what you've just described, like here in the first few minutes, it's like colors are not what you think they are, right? As you just kind of said. And it's like there's so much of our world that's kind of like that. And
well,
you get
yeah.
to try and capture that.
Well, it literally is. The interaction of color is a theory by Joseph Albers, and it's not only a theory; it's the truth. So if you take so you're wearing white and black and whatnot. So if you remove the black and you put red beside that white would all of a sudden appear as a different color.
Yeah.
It just does, because the retina of the eye needs to see it. Well, it needs to see depth. It needs to see illusionary depth, and it needs to see some kind of perspective. And every color is going to have its own personality depending what it's adjacent to. And it's ever changing, ever changing. You put say, for instance, you take a cadmium medium red and you put it on a orange, what would be an orange background, so to speak, it will appear completely differently than if you did with green. First of all, with green, it's going to shoot right out, and it's going to be a heck of a lot lighter. It's going to look lighter, but it's the same color. So even the value of the color changes, even though it's the same
Mhm.
color.
No.
So you look at it, and it's miraculous, really. And Albers was connected to Tay Po, and Tay Po is my professor. So
Oh, well, I mean, when we look behind you right now, right? This is what I mean about the colors that you get. It doesn't, like, at one time it's like it's just how I feel. But when you kind of start to explain how that color palette comes about, it starts to bring a real power to, and why I think your work, like behind you, has this power of color in it that really hits you. And the reason why I'm pointing to stuff behind you, but you recently posted, and I mean really recently, I think you titled it Seafed. Is
Yep.
that right?
Yep.
And you had a story to it, which I love the stories because it just brings a whole three dimension to the picture. Can you kind of explain that picture and those colors? Because it was like, well, there's a real feeling that's associated with what was displayed in the picture. And you kind of created it like in the middle of the night, I think you kind of wrote.
Well, it was, yeah, part of the process. So um, I have an exterior studio and interior studio. Exterior studio acts as um, it acts as a epicenter for temperature. Now, I've determined after all these years that temperature will influence the pigment on the picture plane and the canvas and the surface depending on, how cold or hot it is. And it
Okay.
and it and it will react differently. I've had canvases for years that freeze. I've put things out for I put things out for a very long time in the winter purposely to just create some etching, some, a process. There's one right here I haven't posted yet, and it's charred. It looks absolutely charred. Now, it's purposely charred because of the 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 uh, um, the hues and the color that I deliberately applied to the canvas, but temperature does play a role. So yes, paintings sort of start in my studio here. They may or may not land up outside, and sometimes it's almost like, Doug. It's not like I can't sleep. I wake up with the the acknowledgement that I have to deal with something,
Okay. Okay.
and it's not. It's all good. There's no. I live alone. That's great. I'm sure it would bother, a partner if I was here waking up. It doesn't happen every night, but I quietly, go outside, and I almost, it's a feeling like I am craving the temperature. I'm craving the air, because when you breathe a certain temperature of air, you get a certain kind of satisfaction,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So I'm just like you're thirsty or whatever. I needed 4 o'clock in the morning to go out, and it was like the middle of the week. I didn't care. It was fine. I had to deal with what I was dealing with, and I looked up, and it was a zenith in the sky. It was Jupiter, mammoth Jupiter. And when I look to the sky, a lot of times I think of Tesla, because he would speak about the sky a lot, and he had theories that were, more ancient than anything, really, when you put it right down to it. Um, so there I am, kind of thinking of Tesla. I'm working on this piece. Um, Doug, nobody looks up anymore. That's the thing, and and
Oh
and
well,
I
we're
said,
going to these phone things that we've got around us all the time, right?
yeah,
Like, how many people look at those when they walk down the sidewalk of the street?
well, yeah,
I hear you.
I quoted years ago that look to the sky to find answers. If you're looking for answers, look to the sky, and the sky will always tell you. And it's almost like people. I mean, it's there. A lot of people just don't even go outside. It seems they go outside to go back inside,
Oh, it's a big
and
thing, Kirk. Like, this is a big thing. Like, I've had so many conversations about this that it's like unbelievable. And like you say, we need to go outside.
Mhm.
And it's like when you say we need to look up, because that's our ability to look into infinity that we don't even acknowledge, right? Like, it's such a crazy thing. So when you describe this, it's like how this fits into what you then create. it's kind of neat that you can capture it in that way to me.
Well, yeah, it, it's completely free, but
Yeah.
it's not. You can't replace it. It's you can't buy it. It and it's absolutely glorious. And um, I'm the only one out there. I'm taking all this in, and then I'm looking at this thing down below me that is basically attached to what's going on up above. There was certainly I was sort of in between some kind of strange duality.
Mm.
So that's where the title came from, really, to be honest with
Oh,
you.
okay.
And it and like most of my titles, they sometimes see the one I just finished. I knew the title halfway through. It just happens. Sometimes it's a bit of a struggle. I've got to go back to what I was doing. Other times it's it's just sight unseen, whatever was going on at the moment. But um, yeah, I mean that was a great experience. And then I went back to bed. It was such a You're just full of great stuff, and I think that with whatever's going on up there, I'm not going to try to figure it out. It's way too romantic to figure out. It's like love.
Uh-huh.
If someone came along and they had the formula or the equation
Oh my
that
goodness.
mathematically that quantified love,
You ruin it.
then you know what? It would be all gridded and grafted and everything else. It would ruin it. That would be it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And yeah, this is great stuff, man. This is wonderful, and whatever's up there is up there for the common good. It is. It's good energy. It's good energy,
No question.
and
Well, what's
it's
amazing
perfectly
to
fine.
me, Kirk, with what you explain is you have a way of releasing that and have found it. And we get to enjoy what you've released out to the world in the visual part of your art. Like I think it's kind of like such a cool thing. And then you're able to articulate it, like talk about how it is. Which brings me to what does I think I said sea-fed mean? Like what's that? What's that?
It, it's
Where did it come from you?
it's a galaxy or a cluster of stars. It's a celestial type of um,
Ah,
word.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. Um, like my next piece here is Cosmic Yardstick. Just sounds amazing.
Oh,
I mean,
I love that.
that'd be a great name for an album. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
It sure would. It
so,
sure would. Do you know what it's also it really almost like you mentioned Tesla already, right? And what's so interesting about that individual is he seemed to bring art and science together at a level that
mhm.
almost only the ancients seem to be able to even touch. And like now, like you articulated pretty interestingly, like as far as how that kind of fits together, because one kind of easily leads itself to the other. And then when you say, like you just said, imagine a mathematical equation for love. Like, wouldn't that just kill it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the whole reason for us being here is to experience. We don't have to figure everything out. You know, I've I've been saying lately, my daughter and I, we 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 have some great conversations, and we both identified the fact, and this is not so much a religious reality, but we're very agnostic in our overall thinking, realizing that it's okay to not know something. It's
Oh,
okay to be in the ambiguous place of ambiguity, and that
yes.
it's wonderful to accept it that I can't touch that. I'm really not sure what it is, but you know what? I'm fine to be here. I don't need to know the origin of everything. I'm just going to accept this for what it is and the experience that I'm having with it and leave it. Just leave it. or
Mhm.
else, we can grind it down to salt and destroy it. And there is a side to my nature that does do that will want to know as much information as I possibly can about something.
Yeah.
Um, but when it comes to things that are so far reaching,
Mm.
no, I'd rather just allow that to influence me in a much more mm, cerebral, creative, and tactile way. Really,
Well, it's
yeah,
like like to me it's so interesting because you found a way to like express that. And it's like I think that's such a gift, man, because I think it must be enormously frustrating that people when they see what you've just described and yet they have no way to express that. And like sometimes I think it leads to people to try and just well they're going to try and figure it out rather than trying to express it in some other means. That's why to me art is so important to us. I think in our last conversation we actually talked about art because I had mentioned something about I think it's the Churchill's finance minister. They were running out of money or something, as legend goes, and they were saying, "Well, we need to find more money." And they were saying, "Well, we could sell the art in the museums, in the galleries." And Churchill's reply was, "Well, I thought that's why we were fighting this thing." And I thought, like,
yeah,
isn't that kind of
yeah.
so accurate?
Well, he nailed it because what do we do as artists? It's the epitome of freedom of expression, and it's the epitome of freedom of thought because every single solitary thing that exists in this world came out of a thought. Every law
Absolutely.
and every rule,
Yep.
every law and every rule is just somebody's opinion, and someone's opinion is a bloody thought. You know,
It's crazy.
so in the end, what Churchill was saying is, well, we know what the other side is doing. They're despotic, they're tyrannical, they're it's a totalitarian um, collection of regimes, and this is not the way we function. This is not the way we think, and this is what we're fighting for. So, for crying out loud, and
Mm.
guaranteed what he was trying to say there. It's not my opinion. It's not whether I like something or not. It's the freedom to do it and being able to do it.
Yes.
Right. So,
Another guest that I've had on here, her name's Whitney Schreck, and she's kind of in the art, splits it back and forth, and has a real like psychological grounding on things. And she said, and it makes me think of you immediately, was artists are our historians. And I
artists
thought,
are sorry.
our artists are our historians. And it's so
Mm,
interesting that like
yeah.
you have such a picture, and yet like part of again what I think for me makes your work explode in my eyes is when you like understand the history of the art and how it comes about in so many like we started right running today with describing art and you named off about a half a dozen different artists starting with William Blake, and it's just that just enriches what we get to experience in visualizing art to me. It's kind of
Well, yeah,
cool.
yeah. No, it's incredibly amazing. See, there's so many individuals. I got to be careful how I say this. There's so many people, or there's a population of individuals that sort of walk around this earth with eyes in their head so they don't bump into things. That's all. That's it.
Yes.
And another great quote: they would rather bend over backwards than fall flat on their face. That was a quote from the great Graham Coftry, one of my professors. And I think falling flat on your face is absolutely wonderful because first of all, you'll know what it feels like. It will be an experience, and then you're going to have to figure out how to get yourself up. Um, those are all good things, right?
Yeah.
And you're not losing yourself in that. No, no, not at all. No, you're not losing yourself. To have eyes in your head for other reasons, to see beyond things, to see
Mm.
through things, or do what I do, see the unseen, which is incredibly contradictory. It's paradoxical to the hilt, and to the logical mind, absolutely ridiculous. And then when you throw, I think we've talked about this one before, that there's no absolute truth in all this because everyone has their own perspective, and their perspective is going to be, well, it's going to be individual to themselves, and we can only accept what they say, and we can only imagine how they see things. For instance, this is green, but I don't know how other people see green. I know how I see green, but I'm assuming other people see green like I do, and that's wrong.
That's a big assumption.
Yeah, we've got 8 billion people seeing green differently. I mean, some very similar, some within millimeters, but still, there's everyone, because you have your own fingerprint and thumbprint and your own unique DNA makeup, and every cell in your body is going to be different than everybody else. You're going to see green differently. Done. So
And
that's your truth and your reality, your perspective.
and what's interesting about that, in my sense, is that you're you have the, I'll say, the courage to actually say what you're seeing. I'm thinking right now. You've probably heard of these. I think it's called the Rourke ink spots test,
Yep.
where
Yep.
and when you started about saying that, what you're seeing, like you started with candy canes, and that's an R, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Rorschach test to me is one of those examples that we don't get to do very often in our world, right? Because we often will say, "Well, what's that?" "Well, that's a TV," or "What's that?" "Well, that's a tree." And
Mm-hmm.
and our kind of world, just you've got something or a label for it. But the Rorschach test, now these are ink blots that this psychologist put together. I think it was in Germany, and it was utilized for people to understand their creativity by what they saw inside it. Right? Like I don't know whether you've gone through it or not. I'm sure you have, because you're just the way you're able to articulate what you see. But I was always kind of amazed at just the level to which, as you turn it around, like people not even turning it around, like thinking like I can only look at it this way. But you're allowed to do anything you want with it. You could like look up at it. You could put it down. And when you have different ways of looking at this, it just completely changes a perspective of what you thought you were looking at, which is where you
Mm-hmm.
started today.
Yeah. No, I remember having that test done to me when I was a young kid.
You must have ripped it apart.
It was yeah, this person was about as linear as you can get. And I was
Yeah.
pulled out of my class at James Robinson School to go down
Remember?
to. So you like to the viewers, this is going to be completely this will confuse everyone. But you go down the hallway from the kindergarten room to where the principal's office is, and there was a room where the fire alarm was, or where they used to ring the bell to go
Okay.
in from recess. Do you remember that room?
I think I do. You're really, really shocking my brain here, because I haven't thought of that in years. Just the
And there was
mention of
another
James
room
Robinson
beside it.
School.
There's another room beside it that was really lit up, like meaning there
Wow.
was a lot of windows, and it seemed like a higher ceiling. It was a hodgepodge of architecture because I think things were built on at different times. I was sitting in that room, I remember, by myself. This lady came in. She gave me a pencil that was gigantic and wanted to know my reaction to the pencil. And then after reacting and telling her what I thought, she gave me a tiny pencil. And then she gave me a normal, regular pencil, if you want to call it normal pencil. a pencil that looked a lot like this. And then she did the test, the ink test. And
Really?
yeah, I became rather belligerent. So I decided to really play with her head. I wasn't playing her game. I had already been pulled out of class. I was kind of humiliated. I don't know why I was there. So I
Okay.
said, okay, screw it. You know, I've decided I don't like you. So I'm gonna, I'm gonna stall and take my time and deliberate and just be a complete pain in the ass. I am. And I was. It was so much fun. It was great. I wasn't rude. No, no, I was just, I was quite pompous and arrogant. Oh yeah, but I was all an act. Yeah,
How old
it
were
was.
you?
Oh, I wasn't very old. I would have been coming from those classrooms, so I
Yeah,
would have been,
like 8?
yeah, grade 3 or something. I don't know.
Wow,
Yeah,
man.
I still, I still have dreams about that place, and there's a weird smell about the hallway, like a kind of cleaning solutions and stuff.
Oh
That
my
kind of
goodness.
turned my stomach on the first day of school, and yeah.
You know, it's so
Uh,
weird you mentioned that because I have dreams about the gym there. Like
oh
still.
yeah,
Like going around the backyard of the where the gym was at the back of the school.
yeah, yeah,
It's like it's so weird. It's almost like I'm having a surreal moment here talking to you because
yeah.
I'm
And the
looking at
stage
the
that was
picture
in the
with the
wall.
cameras. Yeah, and then it's like I'm thinking about like that's a long time ago, Kirk. Like a long time ago. Like
Oh, I know,
that's like 50 years ago.
I know, I know.
So
And
so now you're back to Markham. So here's a recent thing for me. You could tell me what you think of this.
right,
So for years, I would go back to Markham, and I thought, like, we're like, because we lived across the park from you, right?
right,
Mom and
yeah,
dad still live there, and I'm walking around looking at this is like in June of this year, and I'm going, this neighborhood has not changed very much. Like I was
mhm,
kind of
I know.
amazed because for the last, I'll say the last 35 years, I thought all the old houses were being knocked down and they were building mansions in their place. And there's a few of those, don't get me wrong. But in
Mhm,
that Robinson Park area where we lived, it's especially like Sherwood Forest, all the duplexes, they're all there.
yeah,
Like it's the same.
yeah,
I couldn't believe it in today's
I
world.
know.
It's like a little haven that is like I think of my parents being there and I'm going, like, they don't really need to go to, like, a senior's home because that area is like a senior's paradise. Like, it's kind of incredible.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No,
So,
you're right. Yeah.
why I'm saying that is coming back to your aspect of what you see. Because what I'd seen there in what I was looking at is I had seen a completely different picture than what exists today. And it's not like they went back and rebuilt the old houses. But if you'd talked to me 30 years ago, I would have said, "Oh yeah, yeah, it's happening everywhere. They're just knocking down the old buildings." Like your house is still there where you grew
Yep,
up.
yep, yep.
It's kind of like Shangri-La crazy to me.
It is a little strange. Yeah. Even to the point where personal things like the way someone painted their mailbox, the mailbox is still there. Maybe two owners later, they haven't
I
replaced the box, and it's like, that nook that's right there, it's never been fixed, and it was
yeah,
still not fixed.
I
Yeah,
was
I go
floored.
by my parents' place, the same thing. I'm wondering, there's a flagpole. The flagpole's there. There's nothing on it. The guy still has it there. Like, what is he like? What's it's a non-functioning flagpole. It's been that way since 2017. It's
It's
whatever. Uh,
it is
Free will. You like the pole? Good.
Yeah, no, it's just and it's like it's so I found it kind of weird from what I expected, and it immediately hit me when you started talking about like how you were taking your students out and what they were like you were kind of challenging them with what they saw and using the alphabet. Like how interesting is that for like breaking your like your preconceived ideas.
Mhm. Yeah,
And that's what
and
you're all about.
seeing things in things, right? So yeah, continuously seeing things in things and
Oh my goodness,
challenging that,
man.
and taking the time to and it look, you're gathering evidence. You're going around, you're gathering evidence, and that's really what you're doing. You're bringing it in. It don't stop at 1G or 1H. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. And
It's
yeah.
amazing what you can see. So one of the things we've never really talked about, and you don't talk about it at all by and large in what our conversations have been, but you did briefly talk about it before we came on, and you were talking about Chat GPT, and that's kind of the AI world. And I've heard many people talking about, well, creative art is all gone because AI is going to take it all. And you have never talked about this. I don't see it that way. What you said is that some of your students have gone on and they find out that, oh, Mr. Sutherland has a background. He's a real artist. He's famous. And it's like, yeah, but what do you see this AI world, other than being able to go back and find out facts and stuff, but even doing with art? Or are you embracing it? Like, how do you see it?
The well, as far as technology goes, I've shown at the Los Angeles Center for Digital Arts because I did a series of digital art prints back
Ah,
2017, 2018, 2019, and got to know the curator a little bit. And there was a show that was, oh, who was the curator? I think she was one of the head curators at the Los Angeles Center for Contemporary Art. And she came in and did the show. And um, but that's and I played around for about a year. And play around. I was quite serious. I
right.
sort of manipulated things and whatever else um, with the tools I had, and I still tried to keep it raw and still tried to keep it real, but embracing it only from the standpoint of my art practice and trying to use such things, I suppose, for social media and whatnot. It wouldn't be Chat GPT really, um, or artificial intelligence, so to speak. But I think it plays well. Just the fact that aren't algorithms really, like, isn't that a form of the same sort of technology? It goes beyond my comprehension. But I'll give an example. So 2 days ago, I unveiled my newest series. Is called the Psychedelic Series. I said I purposely wanted a series of paintings called the Psychedelic Series because um, one of the main genres of music that I've been listening to all of my life
Yes.
is psychedelic, neo psychedelic music. And if you listen to post punk, really, post punk is nothing more than an extension of mid to late 60s Velvet Underground psychedelia, really, basically. So, with that being said, being so influenced by it, I was recently with a friend, and the friend said, I got on my phone and I'm asking if Kirk Sutherland's a psychedelic artist. And it says, no, no, but he has hints of psychedelia due to the fact he has synesthesia, which is, and then it went on about a hashtag that I put in at one time. I went, wow. So 2 days ago, I unveiled the name of the series. If you go on now, it says, yes, he is.
Well, there you go.
Today I said, I got on there. I hit it. I don't do this religiously, but I did it for a lark, just to say, is Kirk Sutherland a psychedelic artist? I said, yes, by the way, he is, And it didn't go on, but it said that he is, and it's just that's how quick things sort of generate.
And how
Um,
truth varies.
yeah,
How
but
interesting that is, man.
but see, Doug, this is where things get a little strange. Uh, I had someone who did the same thing who contacted me and said, "I didn't know you came from money." Said, "I didn't come from money. What are you talking about?" And he goes, "You spent your summers in the north of England." I went, "What?" And she's reading me this thing, and
Oh
half of
man.
it's accurate. Kirk Sutherland is a notable Canadian artist. Has paintings in around the world internationally and
Yes.
whatnot.
Yeah.
During his childhood, he'd spend time in the north of England and at the family farm. I'm like, I collected golf balls at Unionville Fairways. What are you talking about? I'm like laughing. So all of a sudden, you know, and I think it's mixing me up with Graham Sutherland, who was a
Okay.
20th century
Yeah.
artist
Yep.
who no relation. And although my name is, Northern Scots, he was born in England. And it must be that, or just any kind of concoction that goes on.
That's
But
funny.
I had to laugh because that's not at all accurate.
No,
No,
that's
no
really funny.
family farm.
So now you brought. I was going to introduce you with synesthesia, but I knew it would come up in our conversation. So when we've at the first episode we did with Kirk, he talked about synesthesia and how he found out about it, and we won't go through all of it today, but it was really intriguing. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Kirk, but as I understand it, it's like you see colors, but you can like it can vary, but you sense it in a different way. Like you can taste it as an example. I think the one you gave me was you see orange and you can actually taste it from the color. But I think it kind of reveals itself in different ways. Anyway, after talking to you, never heard of this before. Lo and behold, comes um, a director of a feature film called Magnetosphere that I find out from through a friend of mine, William C. Cole, who was acting in the
Hmm.
movie. It stars Colin Mockery as one of the stars in the movie, and you can watch it. You can now watch it actually on the various streaming platforms as well. So the director of the film, writer and director, was Nicola Rose. She still is the writer and director of it. She came on the podcast and she talked about it. She was really surprised that no one had ever really done a film about it because it's such a visual type of what do you want to call it? How did you describe it?
Well,
It's
it's a crossing and the blending of the senses,
right,
but it's
right.
not always visual with me. There's like
Yes.
I experience, you know, a whole myriad of things that I didn't realize. Like, I might have two or three versions of it. No. As time went on, like I started saying, no, no, that Lindsay, my daughter, is this like a normal thing? No, no, it is for you. Yeah. So this, you wake up and it's literally today is green. Today's a green day. It's
Which
just green.
you
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 hear a person's voice and you say, "Oh, that's really, you know what? That's almost your voice is almost butterscotch."
That's it is so interesting we say. Now, when you first described this and first started kind of recognizing this, you kind of thought you were going nuts, right? Like you were troubled by it in a way?
No, I actually thought, like, as a kid and even as an adult, I would say things to people, and they would look at me like I was nuts. They
Right.
would they would walk away like, and then I'd say, "Man, I said something wrong." Um, and I thought that everybody in the world thought the way I thought. I
Uh-huh.
thought that everybody in the world experienced these things, this sort of crossing over of things, and evidently being a single guy and being on a dating site, I get this all the time. If I've had it once, I've had it 100 times. Where doesn't it distract you? Isn't it disturbing? How can you take it? I'm like, what?
It's me. It's
If
just
it's
me.
if it's all you know, I mean, it's not a sickness, it's not a
No,
condition, it's a
no.
phenomenon.
Well,
No, it's like, yeah.
it was so interesting after you told me about this, and I didn't know anything about it. Then I find out this film's made. It'd be interesting to see what your comments would be in seeing the film, as far as what, because the star of the show is a 13-year, I think a 13-year-old girl, and what she kind
Mm.
of goes through and experience. And it'd be interesting to see, like, knowing and having experienced that yourself, or not, you experience it, it stays with you, right? Like, this isn't something that goes away.
No, no. It's just part of like who yeah. And it's much more, it's kind of, I don't know how to say this, because it's ingrained and it's part of who I am.
Yeah,
It just seems like, I don't know, man, it's hard to, I would say it's subtle, but because it's so natural, it's not even subtle.
right.
Like, is breathing subtle? I mean, no, not when your heart rate is going out of control, but if it's somewhere between 75 and 100, you know, and for a middle-aged male, then you're not gonna know the difference. So, but sure, other people do. Oh yeah, I've discovered, Doug, that interpersonal relationships, you
Oh,
know,
I'll bet.
people like, either like, I don't know, I'm an introverted person, and I've noticed that um I tend to jive with certain people, and
Right.
other people, it's like, I don't know, they just don't kind of get me, or they don't get it. So yeah.
Well, doesn't
He-
doesn't in a way, like, Kirk, isn't like you observe things differently. Like, that's why I brought up the Rorschach test. Is
right.
that you, like, we're in a way, even by school, like, we're conditioned very early on, right? And I think we're becoming much more aware of it, of like how, like, I'll use the word organic, but that's obvious that we are. How organic, and we don't work well by and large in structures, right? Like, we just, as a human, we're, whether we like it or not, we're just creative animals. Like, we're like incredibly creative. And
Mhm.
yet we're
Yeah.
kind of like, in the last 200, it's more than that. The Industrial Revolution has kind of come in and taught us to be, as you mentioned earlier, like, to be linear. Like, our lives are anything but linear, but yet we are so conditioned that that's how it works. Like, we read stories, we see movies, almost all of it is linear, but that's not how we really function. And what's so fascinating to me is you have this gift to be able to express it. And that's what's so neat about your art to me, outside of the colors, is it just, it makes you feel, for me, it makes you feel at home. Like, he gets it. Like, it's
Mm.
one of the things that is like a very, it's a very comforting, like, as soon as I saw Seafed, I'd love to see it in real. But when I saw what you put up, it's like, yeah, of course that's a star structure. Like,
That painting is not far away. Did you want me to put it in view of the camera?
can you? Well, sure, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, it might be quite, let's give it a go.
Because this gives the viewers a real chance to kind of witness, like, some of the different, outside of what's behind you, and some of your work.
Right, it's this one here, correct?
Yes, yeah, that's the one. No, that it's like, in a way, like, it's like, how do I say, when I describe it, even, it's like the stars are there, and yet there's so much between us and the stars. It's like you're, Kirk, it's like you're capturing dark matter. You're making it visible.
Mm, yeah. Well, it didn't. It's not, and it's like basically the aesthetic that I tend to follow or whatever else. The uh the I wouldn't say the aesthetic as much as my necessary condition of creating in the first place. It wouldn't really have much to do with the stars physically as much as making visual the experience that I was feeling between the zone of the
Mhm.
sky and that where I am anchored, and
Yes.
realizing, you know what, there isn't really any time or space in the place that I'm at. You know, there really isn't. Like there isn't. I realize that, yeah, physically, or because we're just souls having a human experience,
Yeah.
and you're in that soul like state. Um,
Yes.
these are just physical applications of the things that are most important in the world to me, which are unseen. You
Yes.
know, it's
Like
really.
when you say that, like this is like I come back to the science world. I mean, they're demonstrating in way, and this is big, this is existence, but they're saying that the science has now kind of said something to the fact that 5% of our existence is visible. Like it's atoms that make up things that like desks and chairs and the things that we can actually see.
Right.
But this dark matter and dark energy make up 95% of the existence that we live. So like you think of like this is what's kind of neat in talking with you is that we've got that whole part, and then we have this unconscious that
Hmm.
we almost we have like in hearing hearing an anesthetologist and a neurological surgeon talk. They basically said we know how to turn it on and we know how to turn it off. So we know how to go to sleep at night. We're not controlling how we turn it off, but we go to sleep. We go to this other world. All you mentioned earlier on about breathing, all our functions, our body functions work without us doing anything. Like they just work.
Yep.
And then we wake up. We can't survive without this moment, but we go off into, well, we call it dreamland or whatever. And I often kind of wonder whether there's a connection between that and this dark matter, dark energy that, and I come back to the art here, that you have this ability to see that unseen and put it into something that is a visual for us to, I'll call it revel in because I don't have another term for it. It's just like, and it's that moment. And you've said before, it's not about me, it's the art. Like like it's it's for the world. It's not just it's not about me, it's about art. And I loved how you put that the last time we talked because I just so much is kind of like that. It's like and you say you almost you said already today is like we're not even certain where it comes from, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, and
It doesn't matter.
the way the art world is today, um, the art itself is heavily being replaced by the superficiality of whatever the artist believes politically, or the artist had for dinner, or um, whatever it may be. And often it's like, well, why don't you tell your story? Why aren't, why aren't people knowing this or people knowing that? Another thing with artificial intelligence, if you go on and you ask, was Kirk Sutherland ever married? It doesn't know what to say, because I've kept all of that. I've kept my personal life
Private, yes.
in a vault. It doesn't say that I have kids. It doesn't say anything about my personal life, and you know, that's the
Cool.
way I've always wanted it. but nowadays I've had people, you meet people, you're
Mhm.
with consultants, you're with um art dealers and whatever else, and they're trying to convince you to continuously tell your personal stories.
Yes.
And I'm apt to do that a bit in blogs or in videos about, say, my first studio,
Right.
or uh, the fact that I have a major piece in the hospital that I was born in, and
Oh,
it's
that's
like it
so
almost
cool.
goes full. Yeah, that's to me. I was a courier in university. I would drive by this dungeon of a place, but I'd say that's where I had my first breath. And I never imagined that on the 8th floor of the Thompson building, there's a major piece of public art. But, you know, there's a story there I can tell. Yes, I can. But
You're
look, the
not
rest
comfortable.
of it, honestly, it's the art. It's the art, you
Yep.
know?
You've said that many times. Let the art speak for itself. That's why I
Yeah.
think in the last episode we had, you said there's days that I would just like look at the art. I want to go home.
Yeah, yeah.
I
No,
love
it's
that
it.
statement. That's very Dylanish, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dylan is in Bob or is in Dylan Thomas? I
No,
would say.
no, Bob Dylan. Well, it could be Dylan Thomas too. Actually, I don't know
They
a
they
lot of his
they.
biography, but
I think, yeah, they both kind of cross over quite nicely.
well, he took.
Without being awkward.
I know Bob Dylan took his name from Dylan Thomas, but
Exactly.
I do like how you express things that he expressed as well, and I think that's the epitome of what an artist is, right? Like, and it's a courage, right? Like, don't keep doing what everybody tells you have to do, kind of thing, right? Like, that's not where I am now, right? Like, I'm different, and
Yep. Yep.
even looking at your art, it significantly changes from one piece to other. Now, this reminds me of this. This is a joke that I won't. It's not really a joke, but I remember hearing Angus Young from AC/DC interviewed, and he was commenting about, oh, the critics are always giving us a hard time, and like we've made 19 albums and they're all the same. And he says, I wish they'd get it right. We've made 20 albums and they're all the same.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
thought, how cool is that? Like, just let's be upfront about the whole deal, right?
No,
But
it's as I said before, I think to you that I I I have to be in a place where I feel slightly uncomfortable. And that's because every piece that I embark upon, there has to be something about it. I'm looking at a piece right here where things were grinding my gears and I left it because I know that because of leaving it, it pushed the foundations of my own creativity and my own if I can say, my own conventional
right on.
creative process a little further, just a little further. So
Yep.
so now it's all evolution. It's evolution. You're never evolving if you're replicating,
What you did.
emulating, and redrafting everything you've done over and over again. Forget it.
So
You
you
know.
probably don't know this, but I've stolen that from you. And in the many conversations we've had on this podcast with different guests, I now believe this, like with my heart, Kirk, is if you're not uncomfortable, I don't think you're doing this thing called life right.
Right. Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
I like, and you were I think one of the first that I heard say, or at least articulate it in that manner. And this comes again from this linearity of life that we're taught, like this goal of getting to a point where you do nothing, like and wanting everything to go easy so there's no problems. And I think we couldn't be more wrong with that teaching. Like, we
Hmm.
just, as a human being, like that, I think that kills you. Like, because I don't think we're made that way at all. But yet that's kind of how civilization, how society like is. If we can make you safe, and we're safer every 10 years, we're seem to get safer and safer. And what you're saying, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not doing it right. That to me is like a big echo. Like I think
Well,
that keep you, it's almost like it keeps refreshing you.
yeah, yeah, and you have to realize, as artists have to realize, not you, but generally you, um, the masses and whatnot. In order to be in that place, you have to accept the fact that these things, if you're an artist, they're not precious. They're not precious at all.
Mm.
If you're painting and your motivation is to be matching somebody's drapes or the veneer floor or whatever, you know what? Like, move on. Honestly, you have to be in the precipice of being, very uncomfortable, hanging over that cliff. You need to be sweating. You need to um, you need to be pissed off. You need to be
Yeah, yeah.
uh, you know all of the emotions need to be there, and you have to be willing to accept things in a deliberate way. You have to be willing to also accept the fact that things are going to be serendipitous. Um, but for crying
Staggering.
out loud, don't ruminate. Don't ruminate, because you know it's kind of like if you get into a um, it's kind of like a visual diatribe in a way, you know.
Mm,
And,
mm.
it really is.
Well said.
If and there's that feeling, and there's a necessary condition at play. So I don't know what the heck it is. I'm not going to try to figure it out, but I know that's what I go through. And you know, the great Richard Diebenkorn talks about corrupting the canvas. It's this beautiful, pristine thing in front of you. You know what? Screw it up, man. Just, dirty it up. Yeah, make it a little toxic. Do it, corrupt it, and that's where things should begin.
Interesting.
Begin in a
Interesting.
place like that, and then you can bring it back. And there's that beautiful romance and that thing at play, and surrendering control, at least the degree of control where you don't even know kind of where you're going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you say that, Kirk, like there's this thing that we seem to think we know where we're going, but I think it's kind of a lie. Like I don't think we actually know where we're going. But
I don't even think we know where we are. Uh, I really don't.
oh, I love that.
We're
I love
basing on other people's opinions,
oh,
and
yes. Yes.
we're only basing it. You know, Doug, we base value on
Huge.
other people set standards.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
someone was so powerful that they said that gold is worth something, and it's worth more than wood. But if that same person turned around and said that a 2x4 is worth as much, then
Yep.
we'd have something that would be diametrically opposed to what we think is value. That's what Warhol was all about, saying the tin can, the soup can, is equal to the pyramids. Because if he came down from Mars, it wouldn't make any difference. There's no standard. You don't have the standard. You're coming here not knowing anything. And you look at the can and go, it's far more interesting than that thing over there, that triangular thing, whatever it's called. So
Yeah.
we're conditioned. You said conditioned a while ago. Yeah. And we're conditioned, indoctrinated. I don't know what you want to call it. But if you start looking at things differently and you wind it all back and say, hold on a minute, hold on a second, what is value? And I'm in the middle
Yep.
of all this where my paintings have value, but I never, I don't put like,
Yeah.
I don't have the authority to, monetize whatever's going on.
Right.
Somebody else does.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, these things just happen and then just land up in places. But that's not the motivation for doing it.
No, and
No.
that's to me, that's what like that's so apparent to me, and that's what I think is such a cool kind of essence of even your work is that how you even describe it. This isn't about, like you said already, about fitting it into drapes and the color or painting of the color the room is. It's like it's almost the other way around, right? Like we've created this piece of work and then it goes in the other direction, so to speak. One of the questions I was going to ask you, Kirk, is we've talked about a bunch of stuff, but for people who are, I'll say young artists or people that are learning the thing, just to kind of like what we really haven't talked about today. But do you have any kind of words that you'd like to wrap up that just kind of, I'll say, captures your art world and how you like to maybe pass on a little bit of yourself?
Um, let's see. Uh, it's kind of what I do when I'm, in the studio with lecturing and students and everything else.
Right.
There's that. There's but there that's more of an exchange of knowledge and wisdom. To be honest with you, and it's pointing out, the tools that they can navigate life with, let alone anything else. But um, let's see. Um, hmm.
Like I really, Kirk, how you've kind of expressed your art and what you do is to me a real way um to live. And so what I'm going to say here was I kind of stole from you the idea of if you're not uncomfortable in this life, you're not doing it right. And we're all striving to be comfortable, so to speak, because that's what we're kind of taught very early on.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
as an artist, how could you reflect on that from a point of view of extending that to people in general? Because I think it's kind of a cool way in which you've been given this gift in way to, as I said earlier, express the you use the word unseen, but to express the unseen.
Yeah.
And much of
Well,
life is unseen.
I just the way I live, the way I
Yes.
think, and the way I live, and the way um, you know, from the outside, my entire life, it looks like a strange sitcom. It's not even real. And I'll say to people, "Are you kidding me? This isn't real. Are you kidding me? I just, you know what? It's just I'm waiting for the next script. It's like, I make light of it, but it's mm, I live an odd existence because I spend most of my time by myself, but I find that there is absolute wonderful quality. Whether you're driving along the 401, there's always something to do. There's always I'm never bored. I'm never bored. I'm not lonely. Like I'm like this is like I find wonderment in everything. It's just this world is too damn interesting. It really is. It's too fascinating. It's actually too hysterical not to, it's bizarre and strange and funny and just, it is it is it's a much more amazing place than what the news media will tell you, you know. Uh, and most people don't even know what news means. It's the great directions of the world. So so even in itself, um, yeah, um,
Kirk, I really like how you kind of put that together because I think it's true and I think it's very accurate. And and it is a wonderful place that we live. And if only we could like harness some of that ability to open our eyes and open our ears to be able to observe and hear and sense so much of that. Like, and I think those sentiments are perfect, Kirk. I was going to say, I'm going to land this thing because I feel like the technical whatever forces out there are really trying to get us today.
It's you're in British Columbia, right?
I am.
So what's the weather like? What's it like right there, weather-wise?
Oh, it was a sunny day today. We were like in the 10-12 zone, so it was a pretty nice day. Not a
Yeah,
problem from that.
we're just cracking. It's that feeling of just cracking. It is it's cold. It's cold. But it has its, because it's that way. It also has its positives. You can
Sure.
there's a different pitch. Um, Everyone's talking about how there's no light. There's tons of light. You just have to see the light within the, through the darkness. You know.
There And there you go. See the light inside the darkness. I think that, I mean, just when I think about it, I mean, you're in Toronto. Here I am in Abbotsford near Vancouver in BC, and we're doing this chat that's taking us in all kinds of different directions. That's in a way a phenomena in itself. But Kirk, I can't thank you enough for being a guest again. We will have you on. It will not take another 50 episodes before you come back. And
Awesome.
I was
Yeah,
going to
we'll
say,
make it work. Maybe perhaps maybe warmer weather will prevail, and we won't have
there you
these
go.
issues. I don't know what the
We'll
heck it
do
is.
what one of these days we'll do one of these in person. So
Yeah,
just to kind of
yeah.
put it together, you still have your website, Kirk, www.kirksutherland.com, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, yeah.
And Kirk has available to people, if you see pieces of his work that you like, some of them are available on his website that you can get, correct?
Yeah, I'm under representation with many galleries, but I do have archives that um, with work that is not under current representation. Maybe it was at one point. Sometimes it circulates, sometimes it's rented out. But this was sort of a something I kind of have control over some of my own archives as well. So yeah.
No, that's very cool. So if you see what you've seen displayed behind what Kirk has on the wall behind him, but if you have questions or interested in some of the things, I think you can contact Kirk through his website. You can also contact him through Instagram. You're quite active on Instagram as well.
Yep. Yep.
So with that, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Better Than Not. Kirk Sutherland is always fascinating to chat to, and it really, he does a great job to me of connecting art with science, which in many ways is what our world is all about. And with that, we'll leave you with, if you're not uncomfortable with your world, you can change that and live. For that, bye for now. Stay on, Kirk, for a minute, and again, great to have you on.
Thank you very much, Doug, for all the kind words too. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Are we on? Good. Welcome to the Better Than Not podcast. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. But when we at least do something, we know it's almost always better than not.